part of this conversation today and to share the platform with such eminent people from the region. I'm truly humbled and very grateful that I was made a part of this webinar, which is on a very important issue, a very important topic for not only Pakistan, but also countries of the region and beyond. Now, as we are all aware, that there were two agreements that have been signed one after the other in the last 1 year. One was, of course, the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, which was signed in last September. And now it was extended into the Makkah Joint Declaration, which is basically a trilateral agreement between Türkiye, Saudi and Pakistan for joint defense. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think this is the most significant rearrangement of Pakistan's external security posture since 1971. And as such, I think it has tremendous value and importance, both for the military and the civilian government of Pakistan. And secondly, the pact, I think, has net positives for Pakistan. And that is the reason you have seen that it has been celebrated in a grand manner in Pakistan. And I think this is across the political divide that people have come out and praised this agreement. And there were huge celebrations and jubilations in Pakistan, whether it was the media or it was, the think tanks or the intellectuals. Everybody has come out and appreciated this agreement. And I think the net positives that we are celebrating is that it advances, of course, the middle pass status of Pakistan, which was already beginning to emerge after last year's conflict with India. It also institutionalizes Gulf financial support and, of course, creates leverage vis-a-vis India. A little later on, I will dilate on these points, but let me say it right in the beginning that it also, of course, like any other agreement or any other pact that anyone enters into, it does embed some entrenchment, and which is not really trivial. First, of course, is the nuclear doctrine, and the second is our relationship with the US. And these risks must be actively managed through scope limiting protocols and disciplined nuclear doctrine. We can discuss this in our question answer section as well. Well, as we know that the pacts were negotiated against the accumulated Gulf disillusionment, which my brother Ahmed from Turkey has also dilated in great detail. So I will just leave it at that. And he has also already explained the architecture of how this will be taken forward. So I will skip that part as well. But I would also say that as far as the text of this agreement is concerned, it remains, of course, confidential. So what we know about the text is what we have seen in various medias. The texts have classified, as I said, are classified. And the word aggression is not really defined. So it remains undefined what constitutes an aggression. And I will talk about that a little later too. Now, as I said, the first thing that it brings to Pakistan is the middle pass status. It anchors Pakistan as the nuclear armed hinge of the Sunni collective defense architecture and supports the Eastern NATO sort of comparison. But here, I totally and absolutely agree with my brother Ahmed that in order to dilute this impression that it is a gathering of Sunni countries. It is very important and very essential to include Iran in it at some stage, because with the inclusion of Iran, and of course with the inclusion of Egypt, that has also expressed an interest, it would actually unite all the middle powers of this region together, and then it would truly become a regional sort of pact for defense. And these apprehensions which the media in Turkey or in particularly in the Arab world are expressing will get diluted by itself. Secondly, for Pakistan, it has financial underwriting. This also sort of institutionalizes Saudi FX reserve support. I mean, we have 3 billion deposits, which is budget support for Pakistan. And then, of course, there's the $1.2 billion oil deferred payment, which is also a very important aspect. But more than that, it is the refinery investment, Saudi investment in oil refinery in Pakistan, and also what Pakistan has said that and is eyeing is US $75 to 100 billion Gulf investment. And I think with the signing of this agreement, and of course, with the very big caveat that the situation between the Americans and the Iranians settle down and the war ends and the region is opened, this would be a very, very important benefit for Pakistan, something that Pakistan is looking forward to. Again, that already my brother Emmett has spoken about it. But for Pakistan, I think there are huge defense industrial gains. There is already immense cooperation going on between Turkey and Pakistan in various fields. I do not want to go into those details, but of course, Turkey has a huge defense industrial complex. So we are already cooperating as far as our Air Force and navies are concerned, but I think this will also open doors for a military collaboration, defense production collaboration. Already Turkey has proved that it is basically absolutely excellent in the production of drones, both military and for both military and civilian use. So I think this leads to joint ventures that go beyond the three countries involved in this agreement. This would be a very important regional and global market if the three countries can join hands and put this defense production dream into reality. And then, of course, as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think it provides Pakistan with a partnership diversification. There was a time when Pakistan was absolutely and totally dependent, strategically and militarily speaking, on the Western platforms. And we, with great effort and with the help of our absolutely great and strategic friends, China, have been able to set ourselves free of that unidimensional dependence on the West. And today, our platforms are all, overwhelmingly Chinese. But that does not say that we do not have Western platforms. We still have Western equipment. We still have Western platforms. And with Turkey also being a NATO partner, can bring a lot of value as far as maintenance and upgradation of our defense equipment, which originates from the West and from America. Similarly, with Turkey's collaboration, and Turkey, of course, follows the training schedules and very high standards of discipline of NATO. So that is also, I think, an added element of benefit for Pakistan. Having said that, these are, of course, all great benefits. I also feel that there are some ambiguities that we need to focus on. The first one, of course, is the nuclear salience. There is ambiguity which generates deterrent value without codified commitments. It enhances Pakistan's strategic weight in the Muslim world and diplomatically, but it also raises, of course, some questions because our nuclear doctrine is totally focused and caters to our issue and to our threats from India. Now, with a lot of talk about nuclear capabilities being available to partner countries in this agreement, there is some, I think, fear among Pakistani think tanks and Pakistani intellectuals that this may dilute our nuclear deterrence and spread it thin. And they also fear that it might lead to some disagreements with India, with the US, and it might bring nuclear-related pressure, nuclear proliferation-related pressure on Pakistan. Second concern that is being expressed by think tanks and intellectuals here is that the word aggression, as I mentioned earlier, is in very broad terms. It says, but it doesn't define what kind of an aggression. In NATO Article 5, it says armed aggression. Here it says what? Does an attack by the Houthis in the Red Sea on ships would be considered as aggression? Would Iranian sort of intervention in any other, in the region with the Houthis or with Hamas or with Hezbollah be considered as aggression? So I think there is a need for limiting the scope of what aggression would include and what kind of a response a certain kind of aggression would invoke. Because without that, it could be misperceived and misinterpreted. The Iran dilemma, of course, we've already spoken about it, needs to be addressed. And I think the best way of addressing it is inviting Iran to be a part of it too. Otherwise, there is, of course, the problem of dealing with our, age-old sort of dilemma of how to maintain neutrality where Iran and Saudi is concerned. I'm talking from the Pakistani perspective here because Iran is a very important neighbor with a very, very large border, and so we need to be very careful. Saudi is a very is a strategic partner, is a defense partner now, and so. We have to work hard to ensure that traditional neutrality where Iran and Saudi are concerned is not compromised, because if at any stage that's compromised, that of course creates the reactivation of the Baloch and the Gawada dilemma, but it also then there are reprisals for and there are risks of Pakistan's credibility as a mediator in the US-Iran conflict is also, I think, compromised a little. And as I've already said, the Article 5 fallacy saying that, it is like NATO's needs to be clarified further. Again, I've already said we have the US relationship strain. It would have heightened scrutiny of our nuclear cooperation, risks of association with a bloc perceived to hinge against US primacy, because all the countries here naturally we are very good friends of the Americans, so are the Turks, and so are the Saudis. So that is sort of a kind of an impression which I really feel needs to be diluted. Another thing which is totally internal, but I think needs to be somehow either managed or rectified, and that is the agreement in Pakistan. The agreements need to be approved by the cabinet and the parliament, and this interstate agreement has done neither. So that might at some stage bring its credibility at stake. So I think sooner rather than later, this defense, both the defense agreements must be brought to the Defense Committee of the Parliament and, gotten approved by both the houses of the Parliament, so that there is continuity and ownership of the entire country towards this agreement, and there is no room for anybody in future to ever say that the people of Pakistan are not behind it. People of Pakistan are fully behind this agreement, and a stamp by the Parliament would seal that sort of agreement which people of Pakistan have with this. And then again, I think it's very, very important.
Your time is over.
Just I'm finishing. And we also need to formally reiterate that Pakistan's nuclear posture remains India-specific and does not extend to third parties. Otherwise, it will institutionally erode our things. And in the end, I would only say that we need to preserve our strategic autonomy. We need to maintain collaborated engagement with Iran. We need to reinforce, and I can't say enough times, reinforce China-Pakistan strategic partnership through CPAC Phase 2 and GGI framing, sustained high-level US engagement on counterterrorism and other areas. And as I said, we must ensure that it has domestic ownership. And finally, in conclusion, I would say that this would require a very high level of handled statecraft in order to reach all this. But all said and done, I think it is a landmark agreement which will bring tremendous benefits to Pakistan, to Turkey, and to Saudi Arabia and beyond, provided the situation in the neighborhood and in extended, Middle East and South Asia also become favorable.
Madam, you can talk more about after at the end. So we have to go to the next week. Thank you, Ambassador Hashmi, and definitely you have many points which you have made. Pakistan need to be neutrality in respect of Iran. I think their question must be addressed among the leadership of three countries. But there are some points which definitely we cannot discuss publicly because there are sanctions on Iran, and there are some other types of the things which has been going on. Another thing, it also depends on Iran, how Iran to want to react to this. Like if we have listened to the Ahmed,